Everyone, this is Chris, aka Magoogs, aka Chris Watches Pretty Little Liars, etc., etc. Hey, it's episode 50. Can you believe I've done 50 of these? What am I doing? What are you doing? Are you listening to this? Why? Well, thank you for being here, no matter what. For a show that's been off the air for 12 years, and I'm sure I am not covering new ground in my podcast, it's kind of a personal victory for me. Someone said to me recently, why are you doing this? I started this first of all, I started it for me, this podcast, because it was the middle of the pandemic, which we're still in, by the way. But before the pandemic, I had been working a day job and doing a lot of creative stuff on the side, and I had yet been able to make that my main source of income, my career, basically. But I've always been creative. With the pandemic times, lost the day job and lost I lost everything. Not to get too sad here at the top of the episode, but I lost everything. Lost jobs, lost friends, lost connections. I was an improv performer. I lost all that. I lost all those communities. People moved away, etc., etc. Very sad story, right? Some friends passed. Not great times, and I know I'm not the only one. That's not what I'm trying to say here. The impetus to start this was, I want to do something. I want to be creative again. I want to utilize what bare bones skill I have to do something. And so I told myself, let's do this. And then I'm sure if you listen to the original earlier episodes, I was like, wait a minute, how many are these? So I know I bit off a bit more than I can chew, but here we are. Some stumbles along the way, but 50 episodes, and we're starting season 3 very shortly. So yeah, so it's something to celebrate. I've gotten this far. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you're new, welcome. If you've been here since day one, hey, we did it, Joe. We did it. And I swear I didn't actually plan for it to be this way, but what you're about to hear is the second of my specials for August. And technically this is coming out on the 1st of September, so I kind of failed there too. It's still significant. This is episode 50, a season 2 roundtable. I'm bringing back my A experts, Caroline and Emily, as well as the AO3 expert returning, and a new expert, AlienJason. And for you at home, A experts Caroline and Emily and AO3 expert were the reasons why I first started watching the show. And then that's when I had the idea, I said I should just do a podcast. So a big hat tip to the three of them. It's fitting that they're here for episode 50 to signify this occasion. And so we're here. And I'm not to get too sentimental about it, but it's significant. So I wanted to call that out. And I wanted to thank them for their insights, and their friendship, and their hilarity. And boy, it is another fun roundtable. AlienJason is joining the expert panel. Some amazing theories from AlienJason, as well as our returning experts. All four of them, absolutely stellar guests. Enjoy this episode. Buckle in. I've got more stuff in the slow cooker, right, in the crock pot. Anyway. Let's just get to the music. Chris watches Pretty Little Liars. Chris watches Pretty Little Liars. Chris watches Pretty Little Liars, so he can help you figure out who's A. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. This is Chris, a.k.a. Magoogs, a.k.a. Mac to the Gal, a.k.a. host of Chris Watches Pretty Little Liars. I am joined for a Season 2 overview by a round table of returning experts and a new expert. First, we have Caroline. Caroline, say hello.
Hello.
Returning for her insight and intuitions. Emily. Emily is here with us. Emily, say hi.
Howdy.
Well, thank you both for coming back. We also have returning expert, codename AO3 Expert. Say hello, AO3 Expert.
Hello.
And new PLL expert joining the roundtable, and maybe future ones if he so desires. Codename AlienJason. AlienJason, say hello to the listening audience.
I am ready to find the gossip girl.
Close enough. So here's how we're going to structure this for you listeners at home. We'll basically go through each liar in turn, kind of hit some of their big moments of season 2, some of the big turning points for their character. I want to hear from the panel what they think, their insight, their thoughts, and then we'll go through our A suspects, and then we'll give the floor to our experts to tell us whatever they would like to tell us. I feel like I should start with Spencer. Spencer, to me, has always been the one on the case, which is what we're really here for, is to figure out who the gossip girl is, as AlienJason said. So I'm just going to give you some of the big highlights of season 2, and I want to hear your thoughts about Spencer's journey. First of all, headline news: Jason De Laurentiis is her half brother. OMG, right? Shakes up the entire household all season. Whole thing with mom and dad about paying $50K, and like, was it to find out who Allie was, right? Allie was. It turned out they were worried Melissa was going to hurt Allie. It was this whole thing. So there's that. There's the Toby breakup, also huge. And then Melissa. So 3 big events this season. What does the panel think about Spencer? And you can answer any of those and give your thoughts on any of those. What do y'all think?
For someone so smart, Spencer is real dumb.
Why do you say that?
She makes poor life choices.
Yeah, like I think she has a high intelligence but like a low wisdom.
Yeah.
Like -2 wisdom.
For someone as smart as she is, she should have been like, we should get the authorities involved at some point because terrible things are happening. And nah, that wasn't her plan.
Well, also her mom's an attorney. So like why doesn't she go to her more for help?
Yeah.
That's always my question.
I mean, that by hour rate is just going to kill you. It really racks up.
What about a family discount?
Well, as the defender of Spencer on the show, I think for one, in season 1, her parents didn't really have her back. They had Melissa's back, and they've always had Melissa's back, but Spencer has always felt a little like the afterthought, I think, in the family. And for a while, she thought maybe her dad had done something. And then couple all that, the whole thing with Jason and the secret, the real show Jason, not AlienJason, who was here on the panel. I think that also shook her confidence in her parents, because that really rocked her. And I'll be honest, for a while, I was like, why is that affecting her so much? And then I finally understood why that really bothered her.
But she could have gone to the police.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spencer is... Let's go to our AO3 expert.
Well, yeah, I mean, anything about Melissa? I mean, Melissa comes through much more this season, and we have the breakup of Toby, which our AO3 expert might have some insight on AO3's response to the Toby Spencer breakup.
I mean, as a whole, the website is always firm in the established couples. I don't want to get too much into the other people that Spencer has been shipped with. They are primarily either the other liars or Toby or random adults.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, the question I wanted to ask, kind of going off of what Caroline said earlier, is do we know what her father's occupation is? Like, we know the mother is a lawyer. But
I just assumed businessman.
Yeah. They're wealthy. They're very...
What does Peter Hastings do? That's his name.
I didn't even remember his name. They're very I don't want to say pushy on the kids, but the kids are very high achievers.
All type A.
Yeah. So I was trying to remember what the father does. Because why at one point couldn't she go to either one of them? I mean, they're all terrible to her. But you would have thought she would.
He's also a lawyer.
Yeah, because he changes the will for Jason.
I remember that.
Yeah. So he has some sort of... So I think, isn't mom a prosecutor? Am I misremembering that? Is she a state prosecutor? Or is she a defending it?
I don't know.
Defense attorney.
Litigation, right?
Yeah, I don't know if she's a plaintiff or defense attorney. Or if she's in criminal... I think she's in criminal law, not like civil cases. Which it begs the question, why didn't she feel that she could go to her mom right in the beginning?
Yeah.
You have legal representation, if not someone that she can refer you to for A-related civil suits or criminal suits.
I always wondered if maybe it was Spencer wanted to figure it out so bad herself that's why she didn't go for help.
Like she doesn't want to rely on her family.
Yeah, like very independent, self-sufficient. She can figure it out on her own.
So you're saying that it's like where you can't go to the parents?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you think at all that it was like she wanted to prove like I can solve this, I'm better than Melissa, just to kind of like be like, I solved a crime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
What has Melissa ever done?
Well, we just did watch the season finale altogether, and there was a moment where the other girl said something about the only person smarter than, I can't remember her name.
Spencer.
Spencer is her sister, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I remember his name is for the life.
Melissa.
Melissa. Okay. And then she has this little rant where she says, all the tests that she's done and then her accomplishments, and when you compare them, their IQs are basically the same. And so I feel like she is kind of in that constant, I gotta be better than my sister. So maybe solving a murder would one up her sister.
And then again, her sister couldn't tell the difference between peanut butter and toffee.
Which
So-
is like, I'm worried.
Yeah, that's an early COVID sign.
Yeah. Free COVID.
10 years before COVID was a thing.
Did we find case 0?
Now, I agree with all this. There's other part of it too. At the end of season 1, and I think at the start of this season, there actually was a better relationship. I think Spencer really wanted a good relationship with her sister. Melissa was not very friendly, to be perfectly frank. And I think they had mended those bridges. So I, as a viewer, I was like, oh, I think Spencer's also resisting it on an emotional level. She's like, it can't be my sister. Like, we just built this bridge. I can't now accuse her of murdering Allie. That's going to ruin that relationship. Is there anything to that? Or am I being too gentle? Am I being too kind?
After all the Ian stuff and the Ren stuff and all that, I wouldn't jump to that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Spencer's that forgiving.
And by the way, thank you for reminding me. Can we talk about Ren with 3 N's, who I call on my show? He just kind of snakes in there. He is right. He is over 21, right? That's a safe assumption.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Spencer is 16, 15, 16?
I think they're 16.
What is he doing? What is he doing?
That
What
is a
are
question.
any of the men on this show doing?
That is a question for many of the adult men, and I would say adult women in this. I mean, Melissa.
It's just for the adults. Be adults, for the love of God.
Well, we'll get to Ren later. I do think he's part of A for some reason, but I was like, why is he doing what he's doing? Anyway, before we leave Spencer, she is now part of the group that saw Allison. She thought it was a dream, but late in the season, Allison's in her apartment digging through stuff and takes some pills. Like, I need these for the road. Allison leaves, and Spencer's like, was that really Allie or not? This will come up later. Was that really Allison, panel, or was that a dream?
I'm trying to say something without giving any spoilers.
I also can't remember the other instances of them. I remember them having throughout the last 2 seasons. Don't they have not visions or hallucinations? Is someone drugged at one point? I can't remember who else has thought they'd
I
seen
can't
her.
answer your question without saying something that might give something away.
Fair enough. Appreciate it.
I plead the 5th.
All right, plead the 5th, one of our experts. I appreciate that. Hannah sees her in season 1, AO3 Expert, and then we'll get to Emily's interaction with Allie in a brief moment.
Okay, did Hannah see her while in the hospital?
Yeah.
Okay, I remember that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Great. Any other thoughts before we move off of Spencer for season 2?
I would like to know AlienJason's first impression of Spencer, meeting her for the first time in the season 2 finale.
You know, she is one of the characters for sure. I want to say that she's the one on the right at most of the times. She has a sister. I know that. I did at one point think that the sister may be being controlled by her unborn fetus. The baby was actually A, but so far that hasn't come up.
Already, we've just started recording. AlienJason has given me a new theory to explore for the rest of the series.
A common pregnancy symptom.
Yeah, Jason has theories on who A is, or had theories on who A was right from the beginning.
I love it. I already love it. Let's go to Emily. So I think, well, let's first start with I really liked her with Samara. It's kind of lame how that relationship ended. I get it. Because obviously Maya comes back. I really liked her with her, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Maya, of course, comes back, and then she disappears, and then we're kind of left with that question mark at the end of the season. Like, was she really in the body bag? Why did she leave? Who picked Maya up at the bus station? There's a lot of questions around Maya. parents, especially for Emily, very much less involved this season. Dad makes one appearance before he has to go back off to Afghanistan. I think Pam is in it, 1 or 2 episodes, very, very minimal exposure for the parents. And then this is the other appearance of Allie this season during the wacky shovel thing, which I don't even know if I want to get into the shovel ridiculousness. Emily it feels like, did Emily have like got hit on the head, or is this real? She kisses Allie. Now, again, she thinks, is this real or not? But it sure to me looked like that was Allie that saved Emily from the barn. So Maya, parents, and Allie, what do people think about Emily this season?
Samara was easily her healthiest relationship, and that is who she should have remained with, and I can't stand Paige.
I didn't even want to say that name.
Emily has the worst luck with the people she dates.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for the most part, dates losers.
She could talk to a therapist.
And I wonder if it's because, like, her parents are never around. Like, where was Pam?
Yeah.
Emily stayed
In a
with
trash
Hannah.
can.
Very strong opinions about Pam.
AlienJason, this show does not approve of Pam Fields as a parental figure.
Paige, I don't know, or I'm pretty sure AlienJason doesn't know this, tried to drown Emily to get, like, captain of the water polo team, swim team, and then decided she was in love with her, and they fell in love.
I mean, gotta be a good swimmer to be the captain of the swim team. You know?
A very good swimmer.
She even tries to get back with her, Paige does, with a very awkward street kiss that Emily's like, what the hell? Maya is missing. This is not the time to hit on me. And Paige is like,
Because Paige is a narcissist.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Paige is Ned's declassified school survival guide girl. Okay.
I'll link in the show notes AlienJason's reference.
And Paige was seen at the end of this season finale at the dance.
Yes.
And they're
broke up.
friends.
Yeah.
They're friends.
Why I would want to be friends with the attempted murderer.
I mean, in this show, seemingly everybody's an attempted murderer, so you know they're in good
running
company.
out of options at this point, right?
If you haven't tried to murder someone, are you really living? I would answer no.
Well, the other thing too is in this most recent episode that we watched, Emily leaves Hannah, who's in the shower, to go try to answer her phone call for Maya, and I'm like, you're creepy, like, as Jason mentioned earlier, like a Bates Motel situation, and she just leaves
after she wouldn't go outside because it was too cold.
Yeah. Also, did they address who was the person that walked into the room? Who Bates Motel'd her?
They did not. We don't know. We will talk about that, AlienJason. I'm excited to hear who you think that was, because I don't think it's who I think the show wants us to think who it was, which sounds complicated, but I will explain. And what about Maya? Maya comes back. I like Maya. I mean, Maya's going through her own thing, right? I know that. And then she disappears, and then is she dead? I don't think she is, but what does everyone think about what happened to Maya?
I have a question.
Yeah.
And I think I asked it while we were watching it as well. Where was this body found? Do we know?
Very good question. All we saw was the liars walking down the street. Pam comes running out. So I don't know if it's their home or a separate location. It's a very fair question. We don't know, but it's in the neighborhood. But it didn't look like Allie's house either, the De Laurentiis house either. So it was very vague. I agree.
Emily had been staying with Hannah. So if it was Emily's house, it does kind of make sense because nobody was there because Pam had just gotten back.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
So what you're saying is that Pam is a prime suspect.
Again, another great theory from AlienJason.
You can't spell Pam without the letter A.
And if you spell it backwards, you get map. She's telling us all these things. There's a map in that episode. But if
PLL is like a horror movie trope machine, right? We did not see Maya get hurt, nor her in the body bag. So we don't have visual confirmation she was even in that bag. So I maintain, unless you show me, it didn't happen.
I mean, that's a very fair assertion with this program.
Okay.
I wish it would have been Ezra.
We will get to... I cannot wait till we get to Arya and Ezra. Any other thoughts before we move off of Emily? I feel like she had a pretty emotionally draining season, but I feel like A didn't really harass her all that much. I guess A didn't really have to.
They laid off her a bit, yeah.
Because Emily was harassing herself.
Yeah.
Other than the whole barn thing, being trapped in there with the gas, and then Ali saved her.
Yeah, I think that Emily was being her own A this season by choosing to date Pam. Oh.
AO3 Expert?
By choosing to date Paige. I still hate Pam Fields.
I mean, it's not really important to the plot of the show, but I did find that her dress at the end of the season looked like Britney Spears' denim dress from the late 90s with Justin Timberlake. I don't know why I wanted to bring that up, but it was really on my mind.
It all connects.
It should be mentioned that Emily's father is in the military, and that's why he is absentee.
Uh-huh.
He's in Tejas, I believe.
Oh no, I was just reiterating. Oh my goodness, what I think you said earlier, that he'd been shipped off to Afghanistan.
Which, to be meta about it, feels like a budget thing because they get a couple guest spots, but basically Emily stays at Hannah's house almost, I think, the entire season. So we see Dad once, maybe twice, and Pam again once or twice, maybe.
But I don't want him grouped in with Pam. He is a much better person and much better parent.
That's true.
Don't know why he stayed with her.
Let's just deal with Arya. Let's just deal with Arya and Ezra Fitz. Talk about on again, off again. AlienJason, as I'm sure you know, as all the other experts know, Arya's been dating her high school teacher now since the beginning of the show. He is, right, we've determined he's 21, 22, right?
I think he's 23 because you have to go to college and then get a credential.
Right. This season, clear many times they could have broken up, and they do. And they have a chance. Ezra has a chance. I need to get this out. Ezra is given a job opportunity outside of the state, a promotion, more money, opportunity to go wherever he wants to go after this job. And you know what he does? I'm staying for love. I'm staying for Arya. I turn the job down.
With the 16-year-old.
With a 16-year-old. What in the hell are we doing with this?
I didn't want to interrupt. According to the Pretty Little Liars wiki, he is 22.
Okay, so he is old enough to drink.
He'd be 15.
Not better.
Probably a little worse. And I didn't even mention this is the season where Arya and Ezra are like, you know what? It's a good idea we tell my parents about this relationship. It goes about as well as you think.
I mean, for some reason, they weren't super happy about it.
I mean, they love at the masquerade ball.
Oh, God.
Why isn't Ezra in jail?
Byron wanted to. Byron said to his wife. Byron says to Ella, "I want to call the cops on him," and she says, "Don't do that. I don't want to drive our daughter away."
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you got to drive your daughter away.
Yeah, she's gonna grow up and figure out she was wrong.
They didn't put him on a list, and so he was able to walk into that school, no problem.
Oh,
take off his mask.
No.
Well, we'll get to that ridiculous masquerade ball. I have a lot of questions about that specifically. But can we talk about the who I was rooting for was our boy Holden, who turned out to be a vigilante, perhaps, they kind of were shipping them a little bit, and she seemed like they were at least friends, and then Ezra came back in the picture. But what do we feel about Holden and his crime fighting?
I mean, I wish he didn't join a fight club, but I think he just wanted to feel alive.
Heart defect or something?
Yes.
Yeah. He could have a heart attack, basically. His heart could stop almost at any moment.
Yeah, no, I loved him.
Yeah.
He saved her on the roof.
Yeah.
He sure did, from Noel Kahn.
And you never know how much time you're going to have with them.
You guys watched a very different show than I did.
Now, quickly, AO3 Expert, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I might have asked you in our first season roundtable, did the fans write a lot of Arya Ezra fiction?
Yes. Oh,
they
God.
do.
Yeah, it's a lot of and I mean, I won't go too much into it now, but I love fan fictions that are crossovers between different, universes or shows or movies, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason, Arya stayed with Fitz and like if it was Pretty Little Liars, Vampire Diaries, Pretty Little Liars, Glee, like whatever it was, she's still with Fitz. And also, I could not remember anything about Holden, and I thought to myself, was he her age, and is that why I liked him? But per the website, he's even older than Ezra.
No,
there's no way.
23 or 24.
No.
maybe
It's
now.
like by the end of the show,
Yeah.
maybe.
Okay. Oh my
It's
God.
gotta be. Yeah, he's definitely her age. He was age appropriate. Because they grew up together, right?
Yeah.
And then really quickly, he only gets an episode or two. I forget. Is it Duncan, the flyboy, the guy who flies planes for Allie? I thought, are they trying to ship that guy with Arya? He gets like an episode or two. But is his name Duncan? What's his name? Boy with the brown hair.
I think
Boy
so.
with the brown hair, don't they?
Guys, but this isn't better. Apparently Holden was 18.
Yeah,
Really?
that to me.
It's better, but it's still
16 and 18 is a lot different than 16 and 22.
15.
He looked younger than Arya, to be perfectly frank. Maybe it's the actor had a very young face, but
I think she was 15 when the show started. So I think by season 2, she's probably around 16.
yeah.
I'm guessing it's been almost, or maybe it's not, maybe it's like half a year.
The timeline of Pretty Little Liars is very hard to follow.
Yeah. Well, the main thing is that you don't want somebody who's out of college dating somebody in high school.
Right.
Because I think Holden was probably 18, but maybe he was like a senior. I don't think he was like even a freshman.
Or
Mm-hmm.
the boy just couldn't get that last calculus class.
And they didn't hook up. I just thought there was kind of maybe a spark there, but they didn't. There's nothing that really developed beyond.
He taught her how to ride a bike.
The most romantic thing in the world.
Team Arya with anybody other than Ezra.
I'm Team Arya with anyone age appropriate.
Yeah. I should clarify that.
Arya with
Appropriate.
self-respect.
So last bit on Arya, and I want to loop in her parents here. And I've said this before on the show. It seems like the show wants us to root for them because Byron Montgomery, who literally wants to remove Ezra's head from his body, instead says, I'm going to put this job offer together to basically ship Ezra out of here and solve all our problems. When Ezra turns down the job, the music swells and we're like, yes. The show makes you feel like, yes, true love wins. And I'm like, no. So my question to the panel, do we feel what Byron does or what Mom does, Ella does? Are their actions appropriate, inappropriate? Should they have done something different? What do you all think of how the parents handled this whole situation?
Ella was too lax, and Byron was too murdery.
I think you should call the cops.
Yeah.
And no, that doesn't matter about your relationship with your daughter because she's going to grow up. She's going to realize it was grooming. She's going to figure out that was wrong.
Yeah.
But she's going to be angry, but she's also 15 and you can take away her cell phone and ground her and get some sense
And
into her.
Rosewood isn't that big. Like, it's fine. She can't go that many places if she's mad at you.
I don't know if we want to bring it up. I did note this. The comment of a certain part of Ezra's apartment being considered sacred ground, which for many reasons was upsetting to me. Only one I will mention is, does that mean that they have not washed the sheets?
Oh boy.
Definitely.
Oh boy.
Apparently not.
Yeah, I literally had to pause the episode at that point and take a short break for my
Also,
own.
that is brought up, the sacred ground. Hannah just smiles and I think says, really? And then doesn't move.
She's left in the ambiance.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hey, there's energy in sacred places.
I hate
She got like pulled out her crystals and charged them.
Also, as someone who was once a teenage girl, I don't think that's something girls do in general.
Call it sacred ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, never.
No.
Yeah, that's not a thing.
Is this something boys do?
Mm-mm.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I think that's the show because the show. I mean, I've gotten teased about this in the past. The show's been very careful about how much they showed them actually. Meow, meow, meow. So I think that was their way of saying, "Hey, by the way, it's not just smooching that's happening," without saying what's really going on.
There was penetration.
Thank you, Caroline.
They're waiting until the 5th season for the pregnant.
And one quick thing, just to defend Byron a tiny bit. because I was completely on board with all of you. Call the cops, call the cops, call the cops. And Ella says one thing that I was like, that gave me pause. She does say to Byron at one point, if you do this, they will just run away together. We will never see them again. And I was like, that might be true. Granted, they probably still have done it, but I understood in that moment why Byron hesitated. What do you all think about that?
Well, that would have been kidnapping.
Yeah,
That's true. That's true.
unless she emancipates herself, like that's a thing that you call the cops and like they will bring her
That's
back.
how the FBI gets involved.
Yeah.
Right.
Then he'll be in jail even longer.
Then her face goes on a milk carton.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. True enough.
Locator thing on her ankle so she can't leave.
And her parents put an air tag on her car and her bag.
Exactly. Great. Any other Aria thoughts before we move on to our a final liar?
I have a random thought.
Yeah.
I really did think when I watched this show 2010, 2011, that all the liars had the cutest clothes and Arya's were the most unique. And at least in the finale that we watched, she wears some pretty bizarre things, even for the early 2010s era. A lot of fray and just weird.
Oversized accessories.
Yeah, I'm seeing it with rose-colored glasses, I guess, when I watched it years ago.
And we flash back to pictures of Katie in middle school and high school.
Arya costumes.
Dressed up like Juliet at the masquerade.
That's Anna.
My apologies.
Arya was like Harley Quinn.
Oh, that's
even
right.
worse.
Fantastic. Our final liar here, of course, is Hannah. I will say really quickly, her and Caleb seem to be on pretty good terms all season. I mean, he kind of comes and goes as far as an actor. Caleb actually gets really, really into it with the A folks at one point. I'm sure this will be the point where we talk about Mona. So we'll get to Mona. Before we get to Mona, of course, I thought it was interesting how quickly the stepsister subplot got tied up pretty quickly in season 2. I thought that was going to be like a huge deal, and that was actually zip it and we're done. And I want to address Lucas's little moment as well with Hannah. So I guess we'll start wherever you all want to start. I'm sure Mona will be our main focus, but how everyone feel Hannah dealt with the season with everything thrown at her?
As in the first season, Hannah remains my favorite liar, and she also has the best pretty little parent with Mama Marin.
Agreed.
Her stepsister was mean and got what she deserved.
Uh-huh.
Don't like her dad. She's great. Just love her.
Yeah.
She's kind of stupid. She should have sent someone looking at her in the shower.
That's I didn't understand how she didn't notice that it got significantly darker when she was in the shower and in the bathroom. I was like, that's weird. And also, like, why did they make her fall like that? I mean, I get it. It was to get her in the shower, but I don't know.
So that way she could say, I'm all muddy.
Mm-hmm.
For the one who's portrayed as kind of like the dumbest of them all, she oftentimes, I feel like, makes the most sense.
Again, I think she rolled a high wisdom.
She did. She had that whole hacking sequence in the middle of the season with Caleb's computer, where she did very well.
Yeah. They kind of make her to be the butt of the joke sometimes. I'm like, oh, she only cares about like fashion and doing stupid stuff. But if I were to be terrorized by an omnipresent figure, I would want Hannah on my side.
Mm-hmm.
100%.
So let's address the headline here. The big reveal at the season finale, which not to be smug, I kind of smelled it earlier in the season. Mona, well, this is even a tricky sentence to say. Mona is quotation marks A, the big reveal at the end of the season. How do we feel about Mona up until this point? And then I want to hear everyone's thoughts on the Mona reveal as A.
I'd like to start with AlienJason on this one.
Yeah, please.
Also, I've only seen this episode, and the first thing when she comes on the screen, I called it. Very first time she shows up, she was too much of a friend. She was like, not only was she like really a friend and wanted to hang out with everybody, then when they don't hang out with her, she narcs on them, and she gets whoever Hannah in trouble with Caleb. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
But what was your other reasoning for knowing she was
I mean, the other reason that's clearly is the fact that she was poorly lit in the flashbacks. That's the clear sign of a villain.
And then also she was a nerd.
Yeah, she's also a nerd.
Okay, I love it. I love it. What's everyone else think? The Mona is quote A.
They were gaslighting me at the end, being like, "What do you mean that she talked to someone in the psych ward? No, that didn't happen. She was just talking to herself."
You think AlienJason? You think she wasn't talking to somebody?
No, I think that she was.
Okay.
They were trying to gaslight me into saying that the scene didn't exist.
Yeah, so basically what happened was we asked Jason like who he thought A was. He said Mona. I was like, shit, how the heck does he know?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, she wasn't A. And we were like, what do you mean? And he said, because she was talking to somebody at the end, and she says, I did everything you asked. So
Yes.
that must mean that she's someone's puppet.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Or it goes back to my earlier Shakespeare theory, where just like Shakespeare was a bunch of people, A is a bunch of people.
Yeah.
So AlienJason, can I investigate this with you since you're fresh eyes on this case?
Mm-hmm.
Why would someone kidnap Spence? So okay, a lot happens, right? She scares Spencer in a hoodie, takes her on this wild car chase, chases her. Hannah almost hits Mona with her car. There's a fight. Mona goes over the cliff. They all think that she died. She didn't die. She just fell like 10 feet. And then goes to a psych ward. What would the reason why someone would do that for somebody? What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, she also did call out the fact that she had toffee flavored lip gloss, which is a crazy thing to have. Which is a callback to the peanut butter ice cream earlier in the show.
Interesting.
Also, the blind girl was talking to someone in a park.
I know. Do we know who that is?
We don't know. We don't know who Jenna was talking to. And actually, experts, you can tell me because I tried to catch it. I don't even know what Jenna hands her. She hands her some clothing. I couldn't tell what she's giving her. Do you any of you know what she was giving her?
It looked like a handkerchief, but I don't know if there was something in the handkerchief.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But I wonder. No, that doesn't make sense because
The mask.
That's maybe a mask.
it could have been a mask. Because I was thinking because I think Mona at one point says that Melissa doesn't have their dad's gun; she has it. So I thought maybe it was the gun, but Jenna isn't related to that, so that might be just totally something else.
I mean, did we ever find out how Jenna got her vision back? Maybe she stole someone's eyes.
I think she had a surgery.
Yeah, she had surgery. So, but that doesn't still, I don't know what would motivate a person to do all that to willingly get thrown into a psych ward. Like what would make someone do all that for somebody else?
It's all part of the plan.
Mm-hmm.
Which I've seen a fair amount of this show. Not all of it. And I've seen the ending. I do not know what the end game is for A.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't remember. Maybe I blocked it out, so I'm not spoiled.
She preemptively knew that there was going to be a podcast, and she wanted some fresh eyes.
In 12 years.
Yeah, I mean, because it all seems like it's related in some way to Allison, but like, how much can like a 14-year-old girl traumatize adults?
I mean, she was a bitch. Pardon my language. She was an awful child.
Are we talking about Allison?
Yeah, I'm just thinking this like whole A thing is a reaction to that, right? That's at least my understanding so far. Because she was so mean to everyone else there, and then her friends never said anything, so that's why they were being like terrorized.
But to AlienJason's theory, he is suggesting, he is alleging, not me, that all this was in service of somebody else. I would understand, Caroline, your point, if that was done to Mona, right, and she did all this as a reaction. I get that. But then why would someone fake all that for somebody else? Because that has a lot to do in service to somebody else. I don't even know what would motivate someone to suffer all that.
I think Mona was if we're going to assume it's part of some plan that she was speaking to someone at the end, that she does seem to have some sort of psychosis going on, and that she was used as like a pawn, I think.
Oh, okay.
Maybe someone realized how vulnerable she was and that she could be manipulated and kind of molded into, from past poorly lit Mona into into popular girl Mona, and then do what she's done so far. I think it's a good distraction too if there is other people at play to think, okay, we've got Mona in the hospital, we're good. I would feel safe, but they're probably not safe.
Yeah, maybe it's lulling them into like a false sense of security. Because they're still, I mean, there's obviously more seasons, so
Yeah.
There's more to come.
May I drop one of my theories? So you speak of the flashback, as Alien just refers to, the poorly lit flashback. I think that is a huge clue because Allison is, again, we'll talk about Allison next, this mythic figure. She, to me, is like, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, she's the devil. She offers Mona what Mona's always wanted, to be popular, right? The exchange here, however, is you got to do stuff for me. And that stuff involves all this stuff we saw. What do y'all think about that? Is that ridiculous? No.
What? She said, "Oh, I'll make you popular."
Mm-hmm.
What do you do? I mean, I went to high school. I was a high school girl.
Didn't
I was not a popular girl in high school, but I'm trying to think of what.
She gave her a phone number though, didn't she?
Yeah.
She gave her a phone number, and Allison to me is like Kim Kardashian. Like you are around Allison, you are instantly like cool. Like if she anoints you as cool, all the people that worship Allie are like, oh shit, Mona's cool now.
How do we know that Allison's not a
good question?
Body, but like, are we sure that it's her?
AlienJason, excellent point.
She had a terrible wig in that flashback. I know we're not talking about Allison right now.
Well, let's talk about Allison. Let's talk about Allison. Talk about that flashback, that awful wig.
Okay, well, how come the shop owner was just like, oh, here's a girl who at this point would have been 14 in a very bright trench coat and a terrible wig. Why is she just standing in my store at a window? Is that not unusual?
Yeah. I think, well, Allison is becoming like Joker or Batman level genius. And for a while, I resisted it, AO3 Expert. Now I'm kind of coming around because they are showing us piece by piece, very slowly, how she does what she does. A lot of it is money. A lot of it is finding blackmail. She's great at finding that thing you want and then going to person B and who has thing person A wants, and then goes to person B. What do you want? I'll go to person C. So she has this web of people around her that she ties together by giving people what they want.
I don't have positive thoughts about Allison.
I just find it so hard to believe that she can do that at that age.
She's like the bad seed witch. She needs to be stopped.
Well,
she
also,
was stopped.
Remind me if I'm misremembering, but that flashback that is like Mona meeting her in that store.
Yeah.
That's not real, right?
Very good question, Caroline. There's two levels to that. It is a flashback we're seeing through Mona's point of view, and Mona could be completely lying about that entirely.
Well, at the end of the season finale, don't they say that it was the other way around? That Mona didn't find her, she found Mona there.
Right. Yeah.
There you go.
Which is why Mona was poorly lit in the flashback.
Yeah.
There you go.
And from the hotel, which again, we're assuming a 14-year-old went to and got a room.
And has had booked steadily for the last few months.
Her name that she was using was Vivian Darkbloom.
Vivian Darkbloom. A Lolita reference, right?
But that's that's Allie's name, right?
Yeah, it's Allie's alias. And in defense of that scheme, Inspector Spacetime is the clerk. You can tell that guy he'll take money from anybody. If you're looking for a place to step away from the world.
The man is lonely. He only has his stuffed animals.
Oh,
And the corpse of his mother in the back room.
Of course. And I have a theory about that, what you all are talking about. I think they've hinted at Grandma being this master manipulator and being very sharp. I think Grandma took Allie under her wing early when she was probably 10, 11 years old. I think Allie was taught all these tricks from somebody much older than her.
She learned them too young.
Yeah.
Is it possible that the reason that she can make anyone popular is that she's just like a drug dealer? It's like,
Yeah.
I have a bunch of drugs and I will make you popular.
And they're rich. They're rich as hell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I didn't grow up like my parents are like whatever. Everybody says they're middle class, right? So are people who are wealthy, do their children just have access to like credit cards and money?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The world is their oyster.
You haven't seen European spoiled sons TikTok on TikTok?
Oh, I'm not on that side yet.
Daddy, they're having parties on yachts in Mykonos. It's wild.
Yeah, it's absolutely a thing. And I think the lowest class person in here, I mean, everyone here is at least upper middle class, if not upper class. This is a very rich suburb in Pennsylvania. Any other thoughts on Hannah before we move on to all our A suspects?
she's just my favorite.
Yeah.
Hannah rocks. We all like Hannah.
She chose the best boyfriend.
Although the man was trying to clean out the burnt stuff at his house, and he was just moving them from one pile to another. He was doing very little work.
That was Toby.
Was that Toby?
That's Toby. We actually didn't touch on Toby because actually Spencer and him broke up. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on Toby, AlienJason.
I mean, it just comes down to just a very inefficient use of labor. Everything was already burnt, and he's just moving things from one pile to another. Is that a sign of guilt? I don't know, but it's definitely not normal.
The hardest thing he ever had to do was pretend that he wasn't in love with Spencer.
Yeah.
And play something about his history. I feel like there's other hard things he'd have to do.
Yeah, AO3 Expert. Oh, how much does Toby show up in the fiction on AO3?
I'd say quite a lot.
Really?
Yeah, honestly, like a lot of the relationships that have already happened at this point or are still happening at this point, I think are the most popular ships, I guess you could say, on AO3.
Mm-hmm.
Spencer is, I feel like from the last time I checked, is very commonly shipped with more often though, or not more often, like second most oftenly with either the other liars or adults.
Mm-hmm.
Or adults that she's related to, which is a very weird side of AO3, and I don't really
Yeah.
AO3.
Of these fan fictions of which you speak, how many of them are self-inserts? So if I were to go on AO3 and I were to read them, could I be the one in love with Hannah?
Oh, you mean like a YN?
Mm-hmm.
No, I haven't found any. It's really unfortunate.
Not very popular, right?
That's always what happens. Like everyone's dating Hermione, right?
I'm sure there is a Harry Potter PLL crossover.
Yes.
Have Shrek in it.
None, and believe me, I've searched.
So let's move on to AlienJason already hinted at this. AlienJason must be a listener to the podcast. I have long contended that there's not just an A, that there's not only multiple A's, but that there are multiple factions of A's. So I'd like to go through some of our main A suspects and just get quick thoughts. We've already kind of dealt with Mona. Do we feel Mona, what team might be Mona be on if she's not on her own team, if she's not A herself?
Like the lowest team. Sorry, Mona.
Lowest team A. Okay.
I
AO3.
would say that she is a pawn. She may think she has control. I don't think she has any control.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think she's been told what to do, and as so far as her being like in a hospital is all what someone else may want.
Mm-hmm.
I would say though that it does seem like it's a red herring that Mona is in cahoots with blind girl. I don't know what's her name.
Her name is Jenna, AlienJason. We'll get to
So
Jenna.
if there is another faction, I would say that that's a red herring. That there's actually like Jenna is not teaming up with Mona.
Okay.
It makes it very obvious that it's like, oh, it makes it seem like, oh, that's Mona that she's at on the other side of the picnic table.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a red herring, just like the pregnant sister was.
I was gonna say, yeah. How do we feel about Melissa?
Great segue, Melissa. I consider she's high on my A list. What do people think about Melissa?
She's not a very good sister.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
She's very self-centered. And like she could so easily just speak to her sister and dispel any thoughts that Spencer might have, like, you seem weird, you seem like acting really shady or whatever. And just by communicating with her sister, she could like either dispel that or whatever. She doesn't even try. Like, if she's some mastermind, wouldn't you at least try to be in good graces with your sister? She just tries to look guilty. Tries to be terrible. She takes their ice cream.
She does and doesn't give it back. So something very briefly touched upon that I think is actually pretty huge. Allie, earlier in the season, overhears chit chat. It is apparently Melissa and Jason on a car ride back to Rosewood have a smooch in the car. They don't know at the time that they're half siblings.
Gross.
So do you think, well, again, that's glossed over. Is there anything about all this has to do with that? Because obviously they don't end up together. She ends up with Ian. Is there anything to that? Am I jumping ahead to seasons? I mean, what is that anything?
I plead the fifth.
Played the fifth. All right. I totally think Melissa was a distraction for the liars in that episode you all just watched when she's running around with the feathers falling down. For some reason, they're all falling the feathers in the masquerade ball. I think that was a distraction. That's my own take on that.
A red herring?
Wait, so
Yeah.
you're saying that she was the black swan?
But isn't she?
Absolutely.
Isn't she pregnant?
And someone calls out, "Oh, I wish I could be a size 2."
That was Hannah.
Yeah, about the black swan, though, right? So clearly, I would imagine that you would not call a pregnant woman a size 2 in that context.
While Chris Theory, she's already had the child.
She's wearing one of those big padded bellies.
Yeah.
How far along was she?
I don't know if we know exactly because there's some question about who the father is. Speaking of A suspects, let's hop to Jenna and Garrett. Very briefly, we see Garrett and Melissa smooch, and Garrett's taking on a fatherly or at least supportive romantic partner to Melissa. So they're now I'm not even sure we know when she actually was pregnant. But let's just talk about Jenna and Garrett. Garrett, the fall guy, which I thought he was going to be anyway, he gets set up for a lot of Jenna's nonsense. I totally think Jenna can totally see out of both eyes at this point. She's totally lying, which was confirmed earlier. What is Jenna and Garrett's involvement with all what's going on?
Garrett is a patsy.
Total patsy.
I think Garrett is Mona level low,
Okay.
but Jenna is a little bit higher. I don't think Jenna's top, but she definitely knows more than what Mona and Garrett probably know.
Gotcha.
But that could all change. She could be the high up, or she could go down to Mona level. You never know.
So you're saying like you can transition your power level can transition within this.
Yeah, I'm thinking of A as like a pyramid scheme.
Uh-huh.
Like you sell more Avon, you're more A.
You harass the liars more, you get a promotion.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say that maybe Jenna's high up. She's got a pretty nice car. It's like,
She does have a nice car.
Too bad it's not pink, or we would know for sure.
That's true.
I believe it was one of y'all who pointed out that if she's blind, how can she drive?
oh, I think I mentioned that Jenna was supposed to be blind, and then Jason was like, "But she was driving."
What about Lucas? I still maintain Lucas was going to tell Hannah the truth, and then Noel Khan, which we'll get to, and Mona stopped him. What about Lucas? What's Lucas's involvement with A? It's clear to me he's involved, especially at the end of the season, which you all saw. He's talking with Melissa. I think Jenna as well is over there. At least I think that's Melissa. And Jenna are having a chat. Lucas, what do we think?
He is in over his head.
Oh, was he the one that took off his mask at the masquerade?
Yeah.
When they were looking from the balcony. He is in over his head, and I think he genuinely cares about Hannah.
I agree.
I don't think he cares about the liars.
And if he's involved, he's too involved and can't get out.
He didn't like Allison. She was mean to him. I don't remember her mean nickname for him.
Hermie the hermaphrodite.
Allison was awful lately.
She's terrible. She's a terrible person.
Oh, inconsiderate.
But I think he's just in over his head. I remember the first time I watched it just thinking, like, this poor little kid doesn't know, like, he doesn't know how to handle his big feelings that he's having, you know?
Yeah.
He just has a lot of big feelings. He doesn't know how to deal with them. And so he's listening to those around him.
He needs to use I statements more.
Moving on. How do we feel? Noel Khan. Noel Khan gets his ass kicked by Holden. Now, early season 2, he and Jenna are a couple. For some reason, Jenna dumps him completely. We don't even see Noel that much the rest of the season after, and then he ends up with Mona. Right? I'm having my relationships right? He was a Jenna. Yeah, he was a Jenna. Then he was with Mona, and then he kind of disappears.
Ugh, Noel Khan is trash.
How high is he in the org? I thought he was higher, and I feel like he has slipped in the ranks.
He might be that guy who, like, was relatively high up at one point and now is like, oh my god, I've done some stupid shit. I'm going to try and work my way back up it, but is doing even dumber stuff and working his way even lower. Trying to trap Arya on a roof.
So dumb. You didn't expect Holden to fly from the off screen.
And that little man did fly.
Before we leave our A suspects, I have other random names. I'm curious if anyone else thinks anyone else is involved with A. I think Ian might still be alive. Maya could be part of A. Maybe Jason De Laurentiis. Is there any other random names of people you think might be involved with this harassing our liars?
Hotel owner.
Oh, Inspector Spacetime. Okay, putting him down.
Jason also said the fetus.
Right, that's
Yeah.
true.
I'm not putting... Riverdale has like magic and stuff. I don't put it past these shows.
Great. So the fetus inside Melissa is part of A. Great.
I hated the phrasing of that.
Anyone else? Any other names you want to throw out? Any?
Pam Fields.
Pam Fields is part of A. Great.
What about Dr. Sullivan?
Oh,
Very interesting, Caroline. You bring her up because I thought she was so innocent, but I don't know. That's a good point.
Well, her reasoning that she disappeared was that they were threatening her kid, right? That
Mona came to a restaurant and threatened her kid. Yeah.
and then Toby was the one who taught her to be brave.
Yeah.
A teenage boy.
Who moves burnt remains from one side to the other.
And whose truck has very small tires.
It's so small. Hate it.
Is this going to be your rant, Caroline, about Toby's truck?
Yeah, I mean, we even talked about it, that like if he goes over a speed bump, he's not going to make it. It's just going to teeter. I don't know what that means, because if it's big tires, we know what that means. But little tires could really go either way.
Yeah. I mean, clearly he's not loading a lot of stuff in the bed of that truck, right? So
Right?
Well, it
his
wasn't
body
putting the burnt stuff in there.
exactly. But no space for bodies either. The body would weigh it down too much, and you wouldn't be able to go.
It's true.
Did you just exonerate Toby from being an A?
Because he doesn't have a good getaway vehicle.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. Go
How
ahead.
much you want to bet it? This whole thing is a Scooby-Doo kind of thing. Someone is trying to steal the deed to the town, and it's up to these rotten kids to stop them.
Speaking of rotten kids, we can't end our roundtable of season 2 without addressing, I still consider, the most important character of the show, who we see the least of, Allison De Laurentiis, who I maintain is very much alive. I don't quite understand why she doesn't just tell Spencer, P.S. I'm alive, but she doesn't. What do we think of Allison? If you already know, please don't tell me, but we see her throughout the whole season, right? In these flashbacks and these cutaways, and sometimes we see her What do people think about Allison? Is she part of A, as AlienJason hinted at? Is she trying to help the liars? Like, what the hell is going on with Allison, whether she's alive or dead?
I mean, I think all that we've seen of Allison so far shows us that she doesn't seek to help anyone but herself. So even if she is, like, no matter what she's doing it for her own agenda. She's not doing it to help anyone but herself.
She wasn't a very good friend.
She was an asshole.
And the liars, you know, obviously they're young, but boy, do they seem to miss her. And I know that, you know, she's dead, but
Also, what did they do to get the nickname the Liars?
because they're pretty little liars.
Yeah, that's more me, AlienJason, than the show. I call them the liars, so that's what I beat.
No, but I think that they're called the liars in the show too, aren't they?
They are, I think, and it's just, I think, because of their association with Allison.
Ah.
Like,
Allison is
And
a
they do
liar?
a lot of lies by omission.
Yeah.
Because they won't tell anyone.
Because they're trying to solve the mystery.
like
Just like we are.
Allison ruled people through fear. That's what I have gathered / remember from watching all of this.
It's very true.
And it is lies by omission. Like, the other ones weren't necessarily the ones that did anything, and they weren't necessarily the ones lying, but they never called her out on it. I think Spencer does, like, once briefly in the first season flashback or whatever, and Allison's like, she says something crummy, and then Spencer backs off with it. And it's like, no, like, call her out for being a terrible monster lady. Like, she's awful. Why do you even care what she thinks?
Well, the other thing I have to remind myself of is that, do you remember it being like 15, 16 and like the things we were afraid of? Like, I was afraid of like getting like bad grades and like having to tell my parents. So I don't know.
I'm still afraid of getting bad grades.
AlienJason is over 18, everybody.
Mhm.
You can be on this podcast.
I was afraid of E.T. So, like,
Hey, the Universal Studios ride was great, though.
Please sponsor this podcast. So I think we're at that time. I'd like to. I don't want us to go too much longer. I like each of you. The floor is yours. Take your turn. If you don't want to say something, that's totally fine. The floor is yours to address anything you would like about the show up to the end of the second season. Rants, raves, questions, whatever you want. Whoever would like to go first.
down with Pam.
Hey, it's Emily's part. Great.
Katie, was there anything from my list of notes that hasn't arisen yet?
Jason did call the masquerade in the season finale a swinger party.
Can we briefly talk about the masquerade ball? Invitations show up. No idea who set this up. Where is it at? Why is there a ball? Like, what is this thing?
I don't know if it's like a winter formal situation or what it is.
Yeah. You can tell that those are some rich ass white people.
Yeah.
But why are there all the adults there too? Yeah, it can't be the school thing, right?
The fired and disgraced teachers there.
Like, some of them are there for their dates.
Yes. Hiding in the wings, in the maze. I don't know why Ezra was hiding back there.
It was romantic. Oh.
Jason also asked why there was a sex doll in the intro sequence in the coffin.
You thought Allison, you know, when they're like doing her up, like paying her nails.
I've never thought that before, AlienJason. I will re-examine that for season 3. Yeah.
I thought it was a fair question. A weird thing to put in a casket.
Wait a minute. Actually, let's interrogate this. AlienJason, why did you think that?
Because it, like, if you look at the fingers, like the cuticles were like fake. Like, it didn't look like a real hand, you know?
Interesting observation. That's all I'll say.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she'd been embalmed.
AlienJason needs a new name.
Oh no.
Well, there were a few things specific to this like most recent episode, but Katie also mentioned it. Why does nobody wear seatbelts?
Mm-hmm.
Because when they're driving to the lodge, they're not wearing seatbelts. They're all like leaning forward, so if anybody crashes, they're going out the windshield. I don't think Mona or Spencer were wearing seatbelts.
Also, where were they going? Because it's like, you'll never get to Lookout Point, but why does it matter if you get to Lookout Point?
I think she said that so that the liars would know where they were headed.
Oh,
so
okay.
that they could catch up with them. That's what
Because I really did think that she was going to just like click her seatbelt in and then drive off a cliff and just be like, whoops, we had a car accident and she died.
Because she was going to death proof it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know
This giving me a lot of anxiety. And this was just one episode.
I think some of you might already know, so if you'd have to plead a fifth, you can tell me. I think there might be some significance to Lookout Point, because it feels like that's a romantic place, right? To smooch with your significant other. I'm wondering if Mona or A or Allie or someone's like, hey, this means to me, and it's another clue for the liars to follow up on. Is that ridiculous?
I think that was just the tree.
Sometimes a tree's a tree.
I don't remember.
Yeah, remember the tree where they're like, oh, that's the tree from the video.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, like that one, they had a name for it, and I can't remember what. And I know they go back to that throughout seasons 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
The kissing, or is it the kissing rock?
There is the kissing rock, yeah.
That's what I meant. A rock, not a tree. Both
Mm-hmm.
neat. But Lookout Point, I can't think of having any particular significance.
Okay.
I also don't know why I thought it was a lighthouse at first. It's like Lookout Point. It's a lighthouse, but they're in Pennsylvania, so.
I mean, they could be on the lake.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any other rants or raves, things we haven't talked about that you really want to be sure the people know how you feel about something?
When you stay at a hotel with 4 people, you need more than 1 bed. That's another thing.
Yeah, is there just one bed when they wake up in the morning?
Yeah, just 1 bed, and it doesn't look like it. Like I don't think they even slept in it.
Yeah,
but
It
they
doesn't
look
look like they
terrible.
slept, yeah.
So they obviously like were up all night.
Yeah,
and then went to that ball. I don't know.
They're very tired.
If you're a parent, don't let your kid date their teacher who's 7 years old.
Noted.
Do you think? Because I said it so much during the run, I think Byron was extremely generous in what he did. I know we said he was murderous earlier. Extremely generous to the point where I almost didn't believe it, offering him the job as opposed to calling the police, which we all agree he should have done.
100%. He gave Ezra an out and like an opportunity.
Mm-hmm. And then Arya couldn't be as mad at him because it's like, well, I did it for him. Like, there you go.
My goodness. Before we wrap, AO3 Expert, any new pairings that we're aware of in season 2? You know, like I know we have Vivian Darkbloom. Was there any like fiction with her? Is Flyboy any fiction with him? Jonah, the hacker. No, he's the work for the cell phone company. Who, by the way, I'm still going to try and get on the show. Any like fiction of like random side characters that you can think of that might be worth mentioning? Or is it mainly just like the main folks that people really gravitate towards?
A lot of the main folks. I mean, for myself, I would hope for something to do with the hotel innkeeper because he's clearly a serial killer on the side. I don't know offhand if he's ever seen again in the show. If he's not, he's clearly a serial killer. I would love to know more about him.
Taking the world's smallest bites of those cookies
to make them last.
Mm-hmm.
I did find, I said it earlier, I love finding different universes fan fiction because it's easy enough to just do Pretty Little Liars. I like it. Love to see when people are like, oh, you know what? It's Pretty Little Liars and Harry Potter. I can say sadly, I did not find anything with the tags Pretty Little Liars and Dracula or Pretty Little Liars and Vampire. I searched far and wide. I just wanted that. I did find Pretty Little Liars and the show Nip Tuck, which was an interesting. Anna and I believe one of the main characters' name was Christian. That I just like a one-off.
Once again, fully an adult.
Yes, yeah, and in the fiction, she's 18, I guess. And like it's just a one-off.
Yeah.
They hook up.
They just have to add that for legal reasons.
Of course, 18 plus.
You get some life up.
Yeah, they were just hanging out. There was Pretty Little Liars and Sherlock, where Mona seeks out Moriarty, but there's no hookup. It's just a weird, like, they're going to be partners and friends, which would never happen.
Right.
And then the only other one that I remember offhand, and I had made a list, but I cannot access it, was a Once Upon a Time and Pretty Little Liars fan fiction that had Ruby. Oh my god, my Siri just went off. I'm sorry. Ruby, who's Red Riding Hood,
Mhm.
and Paige.
Huh.
That
I
hook
hate
up.
that.
I hate
Interesting.
Why
Yeah,
would you waste your
I know.
time
I
on
was
that?
like, any of the other
Who
characters.
knows? Maybe Paige would try and drown little Red Riding Hood.
She's working with the wolf.
She's
Quick to the listeners at home. You have at least two people who will absolutely read your PLL Dracula 2013 starring Jonathan Rhys Meyers fiction. Please tag us. We will read that with a plum.
I must ask AO3. Is there any like Toby Caleb stuff? Like, do we ever get like the boy on boy?
Good question.
Of the liars.
I would read that.
I really should look that up more.
Okay.
I'm seeing a lot of girl on girl, be it the teenagers or the adults or
No, Pam.
together. Sadly, yes, Pam is. There are fan fictions with Pam. In fact, I will research now and have a good list of what fan fictions Pam Fields is included in.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I really should look at the pairings between some of the other characters. It's the girls are the four main liars are the primary subjects of the fan fictions, and also Glee. I an abundance of Glee. I've never seen an episode of that, but apparently there are a lot of crossovers.
Talk about another show where a teacher is inappropriate.
Yeah.
Mr. Shu should be in jail.
I've never seen it. I'm just thinking maybe because it's high school.
Yeah.
Like I could see some Ezra Byron fiction going on.
Oh,
there
they would hate Bone.
Mm-hmm. Hate Bone. I feel like that's a great place to end on Hate Bone.
Yeah.
Unless you have anything else, Caroline.
I was going to say we found the true reason why Ezra stayed.
Oh,
We're writing it for everyone at home. We're setting it up for you all. Any final thoughts before we wrap, folks? I appreciate your insights. This has been very helpful for me and my investigators. Anything else you want to add?
for you, Christopher.
Yeah.
I know you've been saying for a long time that you thought Mona was involved. Do you feel satisfied that you are, at least at this point, somewhat correct, depending on how things go from here?
I'm glad you asked me that, because I was thinking about, especially as all four of you recounted the episode to me, I actually feel now even more lost than I was, because as you may know, I put Mona at the top of the pyramid, and as you all have pointed out, she is barely, I don't even know if she's in the middle anymore. She might even be in the lower rung. So now my whole theory is kind of gone out the window. So yes, I was right about her sabotage, but now I have no idea who's in charge. So kind of a mixed bag.
It's the fetus.
Yes, it's Melissa's baby is the true A, is what we're saying.
As long as you don't call it the fetus, I hate that.
Once again, thank you, Caroline, Emily, AO3 Expert, AlienJason, for joining me here on this season 2 recap of Pretty Little Liars. Season 3 will start in September, so stay tuned for that. If you all are up for it, I would love to have you back for my end of season 3.
I think is your audience up for that?
Yes, let me know. Let me know who do you think on the panel is really a listening audience. Yeah, so thanks for listening. There's a finger on this video feed pointing to AlienJason. Thank you so much.
Once again, podcast. No one can see what you're doing, Katie.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, my panel, and we'll see you next time.
When Rosewood High Schooler Mona falls into a ditch and turns out to be A, can Barry reach out to her and find out the truth? Or will she be lost in the system? Find out on an all-new Barry the Cop, CBS Sundays.